One of the hardest lessons in dealing with people is learning that not everyone who suffers deserves to be rescued by you. This may sound harsh, especially when compassion has been taught as a virtue. You are told to help those who struggle, forgive those who fail, and stand beside people when their lives collapse. But there is a distinction that intelligent people learn to recognize. Some people encounter problems because life has placed an obstacle in their path, while others repeatedly create the same problems through their own choices and then expect someone else to remove the consequences. If you fail to see that difference, your kindness can become a trap. Look closely at the person who is always in trouble. Something goes wrong with their money, and you rescue them. They make another reckless decision, and you rescue them again. They damage a relationship, lose an opportunity, ignore good advice, and somehow you are expected to repair everything. Each crisis appears different on the surface, but underneath, the pattern remains the same. They create the problem, you solve the problem, they repeat the behavior. Eventually, you must ask yourself whether you are actually helping them or simply protecting them from the lessons their own behavior is trying to teach. Consequences are not always cruelty. Sometimes consequences are education. A person who never experiences the cost of their decisions has little reason to change those decisions. If you continually pay the price for someone else's recklessness, you remove the pressure that might force them to develop discipline. Your rescue may feel compassionate in the moment, but it can produce weakness in the long term. This is why you must stop confusing compassion with permanent responsibility. There is nothing wrong with helping someone who has genuinely fallen. If a person is making an honest effort to recover, your support can give them the strength to stand again. But there is a difference between helping someone stand and carrying them forever. Watch their response after you help them. Do they learn? Do they take responsibility? Do they change their behavior? Do they appreciate what you have done and attempt to become more independent? Or do they simply wait for the next crisis? The answer reveals everything. Someone who genuinely wants to improve will eventually become less dependent on your rescue. They may still need support, but they will use that support as a bridge toward independence. The person who only wants rescue will treat your generosity as a resource that must remain available. And once they discover that you always save them, they may stop fearing the consequences of their actions. This creates a dangerous psychological dynamic. You begin believing that their survival depends on you. They begin believing that you will always be there. Your relationship becomes organized around emergencies rather than mutual respect. You become the solution to problems you did not create. At first, this may make you feel important. Being needed can feel powerful, but there is a hidden danger in being indispensable to someone's dysfunction. You can become so invested in rescuing them that you neglect your own life, goals, finances, peace, and relationships. You begin paying a price for decisions that were never yours. The wiser approach is to offer responsibility instead of rescue. Give advice when appropriate. Offer a genuine opportunity. Provide temporary assistance when there is a legitimate reason. But make sure the person carries their own weight. Let them participate in solving the problem they created. If they refuse, step back. This is not abandonment. It is recognition. You cannot build another person's character by constantly protecting them from consequences. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do is allow reality to become their teacher. Remember, helping someone once can be compassion. Repeatedly saving someone from the same self-created disaster can become participation in their destruction. Now the difference, and protect your own strength while you help others rise. Trust is one of the most valuable forms of power you can give another person, because when you trust someone, you give them access to things that the rest of the world cannot see. You reveal your weaknesses, your plans, your fears, your resources, and sometimes the parts of yourself you would never expose to a stranger. This is why betrayal is more dangerous than ordinary disagreement. A disagreement challenges your opinion. Betrayal exploits your openness. And once someone has repeatedly betrayed your trust, you must stop confusing forgiveness with continued access. There are people who make mistakes once and genuinely regret them. There are also people who betray you repeatedly, apologize when confronted, promise that they have changed, and then eventually repeat the same behavior. These two situations are not the same. The first may deserve another chance, the second requires distance. You must learn to study patterns rather than promises. Anyone can say, "I would never do that again." Anyone can become emotional, apologize, and ask you to forget what happened. Words are easy when someone fears losing access to you. The real question is what they do after the apology. Do they change their behavior? Do they become more honest? Do they respect the boundaries they previously violated? Do they accept responsibility without blaming you? Or do they simply wait until the tension disappears before returning to the same behavior? This is where many people become trapped. They want to believe that the person they trusted is still the person they imagine. They remember the good moments. They remember the history. They remember every time that person helped them in the past. And because of those memories, they ignore the evidence standing in front of them. But history does not erase patterns. Someone can have been good to you once and still become dangerous to trust today. You do not need to hate them. You do not need revenge. You do not even need to expose them. You simply need to change their level of access to your life. This is especially important when the person has used your generosity against you. Perhaps you gave them an opportunity and they betrayed your confidence. Perhaps you defended them and they later attacked you. Perhaps you shared something private and they eventually used it to embarrass or manipulate you. The lesson is not that you should never trust again. The lesson is that trust should become more intelligent. Do not give someone unlimited access simply because they ask for forgiveness. Let their behavior earn it back slowly, if it can be earned back at all. There is a difference between forgiving someone emotionally and trusting them strategically. You can release your anger without giving that person another opportunity to harm you. You can wish someone well while keeping them outside your inner circle. You can accept an apology without pretending that nothing happened. This is not cruelty. It is discernment. The person who repeatedly betrays you has already communicated something about their character. When you ignore that information and continue rescuing them, you are no longer simply being generous. You are refusing to learn from reality. And reality is often more honest than words. A trustworthy person understands that access to another person's life is a responsibility. They protect what you share. They respect your boundaries. They do not treat your kindness as weakness. They do not wait for moments of conflict to use your vulnerabilities as weapons. But someone who repeatedly betrays you has shown that they value their immediate advantage more than your trust. Do not give them endless opportunities to prove the same lesson. Your loyalty should have limits. Your forgiveness can be generous, but your access should be earned. When someone demonstrates repeatedly that they cannot be trusted, the strongest response is not revenge. It is distance. Protect your trust, because once you understand its value, you will stop giving it to people who have already shown you what they will do with it. There is another kind of person you must learn to recognize before you keep giving them your time, resources, and protection. The person who only appears when they need something from you. They may call you a close friend, speak warmly about your importance, and make you believe that the relationship is meaningful, but their behavior tells a different story. When everything is going well, they are difficult to find. When they need money, advice, a connection, a favor, a place to stay, emotional support, or someone to solve a problem, suddenly they remember exactly where you are. This pattern is easy to miss because people naturally want to believe that their relationships are genuine. You remember the conversations, the laughter, the history you share, and the moments when you helped each other. But a relationship should not be measured only by how someone behaves when they need you. It should also be measured by how they behave when you need nothing from them and they need nothing from you. Watch what happens when there is nothing for them to gain. Do they still contact you? Do they ask how you are doing? Do they celebrate your progress? Do they offer support without being asked? Do they remember the things that matter to you? Or does the relationship become silent until another problem appears? The difference between friendship and dependency is often revealed in these quiet periods. A person who genuinely values you wants your presence, not simply your resources. They may ask for help, but they also understand that you have your own responsibilities. They do not make every conversation about their crisis. They do not treat your generosity as an unlimited supply. They understand that your time, money, energy, and knowledge belong to you, but the person who sees you primarily as a resource behaves differently. They may become unusually friendly when they need something. They may remind you of how long you have known each other before making a request. They may make you feel guilty for saying no. They might say, "I thought I could count on you," as though your refusal is a betrayal. This is where you must be careful. Being able to help someone does not mean you are obligated to help them every time. Your resources are not public property simply because you have more than someone else. Your kindness does not create a permanent debt, and your past generosity does not guarantee future access. Sometimes the most revealing test is to say no. You do not need to be rude. You do not need to give a long explanation. Simply decline and observe what happens next. A genuine person may be disappointed, but they will respect your decision. A person who only values what you provide may suddenly change their attitude. They may become cold, angry, manipulative, or disappear completely. That reaction gives you information. Never underestimate the value of information. When someone leaves because you stopped providing benefits, they may have done you a favor. They have revealed the true structure of the relationship without requiring you to spend years discovering it. This does not mean you should become selfish or refuse everyone who asks for help. Generosity is powerful when it is intentional. There will always be moments when someone genuinely needs assistance, and helping them can be meaningful. But generosity should create strength, not permanent dependence. Help people who are trying to help themselves. Support people who are willing to carry their share of the burden. Give opportunities to those who use them responsibly. But do not become the permanent solution for someone who refuses to develop the ability to solve their own problems. Your resources should strengthen relationships, not define them. The more successful, capable, or generous you become, the more carefully you must choose where your resources go. Not everyone who needs you deserves unlimited access to you. Some people will approach you because they value you. Others will approach you because they value what they can obtain from you. Learn to recognize the difference. Because when you stop allowing people to treat your generosity as an unlimited resource, you discover who actually values you and who was only waiting for their next favor. There is a particularly dangerous kind of relationship you must learn to recognize. The person who accepts your help while secretly resenting your success. This person may smile when you succeed, thank you when you assist them, and remain close enough to benefit from your strength, yet beneath the surface there may be a quiet comparison taking place. They are measuring themselves against you, and every improvement in your life becomes a reminder of what they believe they lack. This is where generosity can become complicated. You may think, if I help this person succeed, they will appreciate me. But appreciation is not guaranteed simply because you have been generous. Some people do not experience another person's success as inspiration. They experience it as a threat. Watch what happens when you begin to rise. When your career improves, do they celebrate you or immediately search for something wrong? When you accomplish something difficult, do they congratulate you or explain why it was not as impressive as you think? When you become more confident, do they encourage that confidence or remind you of every mistake you made in the past? These patterns matter. A person who genuinely wants you to succeed can benefit from your strength without feeling diminished by it. They can stand beside you while you grow without constantly needing to compete. They can accept your advice without turning your success into a reason to attack you. But resentment creates a different dynamic. Someone may accept your help while secretly hoping you do not become too powerful. They may ask for your advice but criticize your achievements. They may depend on your connections while quietly questioning your abilities. They may celebrate your victories publicly, but make subtle comments privately that reduce your confidence. This contradiction can be difficult to understand because you may focus on what they receive from you rather than what they feel toward you, but dependence does not always create loyalty. Sometimes the person who benefits most from your strength is the person who most desperately wants to see you weakened. Why? Because your success creates comparison. Your progress becomes evidence of their own lack of progress. Your discipline reminds them of their inconsistency. Your confidence exposes their insecurity. Your opportunities make them aware of opportunities they never pursued. Instead of confronting themselves, they may attempt to reduce you. This can happen through subtle discouragement. They may tell you that you are becoming arrogant when you are simply becoming confident. They may suggest that your ambitions are unrealistic. They may question every opportunity that comes your way. They may encourage you to remain exactly where you are because your growth makes the relationship uncomfortable. And sometimes they will use your generosity as a way to maintain proximity. They accept your help because it benefits them, but they do not necessarily want you to become stronger than them. This is why you must understand the difference between helping someone and empowering someone who resents you. Help should not require you to make yourself smaller. You can give advice without giving away your position. You can offer an opportunity without becoming responsible for someone's entire future. You can support another person's growth without ignoring the signs that they secretly want yours to stop. Pay attention to reciprocity, but also pay attention to emotional reactions. When you succeed, who becomes genuinely happy? When you receive recognition, who becomes uncomfortable? When your confidence increases, who tries to bring you back to your old identity? These questions reveal more than dramatic confrontations ever could. Do not become paranoid. Not every person who disagrees with you is jealous, and not every criticism is resentment. A genuine friend may challenge your decisions precisely because they care about your future. The difference is that honest criticism is intended to make you stronger, while hidden resentment often seems determined to make you smaller. If someone repeatedly benefits from your generosity while simultaneously undermining your progress, reconsider the relationship. You are not required to destroy them. You are not required to expose them. You simply need to stop giving unlimited resources to someone who does not genuinely respect your growth, because the person who needs your strength but resents your power should never receive unlimited access to either. There is another kind of person you must learn to stop rescuing, the person who refuses to change. This is one of the most difficult situations to recognize because, at first, their struggle may look genuine. They may tell you about their problems, their difficult circumstances, their disappointments, and everything that has gone wrong in their life. You listen because you care. You offer advice because you want them to improve. You give them another opportunity because you believe people deserve chances. But eventually you must ask a harder question. What are they doing with the chances you keep giving them? A person can make mistakes without being a bad person. Everyone fails. Everyone makes poor decisions. Everyone reaches moments when they need support. The danger begins when failure becomes a permanent identity and responsibility is continuously transferred to someone else. You help them solve one problem and another appears. You give advice and they ignore it. You create an opportunity and they waste it. You warn them about the consequences and they repeat the same behavior. Then they return to you expecting another rescue. At some point, the problem is no longer the crisis itself. The problem is the refusal to learn from the crisis. This is where many compassionate people become trapped. They believe that because they have the ability to help, they have the responsibility to help forever. They begin measuring their goodness by how much suffering they can absorb from other people. But your ability to rescue someone does not make their problems your responsibility. There is a difference between supporting someone who is trying to change and protecting someone who has decided not to. The person who genuinely wants to improve may stumble repeatedly, but you will see movement. They may make mistakes, but they take responsibility. They may fall, but they attempt to stand again. They may need assistance, but they do not expect you to carry them indefinitely. That effort matters. The person who refuses to change behaves differently. They explain why nothing is their fault. They blame their circumstances, their family, their friends. their employer, society, or anyone else available. Every solution you offer is rejected because they are not really searching for a solution. They are searching for relief without responsibility. And if you continue providing that relief, you may unintentionally strengthen the very behavior that keeps them trapped. Sometimes consequences are the only language a person understands. If someone refuses to manage their money, eventually they must experience the consequences of irresponsible spending. If someone repeatedly destroys relationships through dishonesty, they may eventually experience loneliness. If someone refuses to work toward a goal, they may eventually face the reality of remaining where they are. You do not have to make those consequences worse, but you do not always have to prevent them either. This requires emotional strength because watching someone struggle can make you uncomfortable. You may feel guilty. You may think, if I could help, why wouldn't I? But there is another question you must ask. Will my help actually help them become stronger, or will it simply allow them to remain the same? That question protects you from becoming trapped in endless rescue. Your responsibility is not to save everyone from every consequence. Your responsibility is to use your strength wisely, give advice when it can be useful, offer opportunities when someone demonstrates commitment, support genuine effort, encourage responsibility. But when someone repeatedly refuses every path toward change, step back, let reality teach what your words could not. You cannot want someone's transformation more than they want it themselves. And if you keep sacrificing your peace, resources, time, and energy for someone who refuses to change, eventually their stagnation becomes your burden. Compassion should give people the opportunity to rise, not permission to remain permanently dependent. Sometimes the most powerful help you can offer is to stop rescuing and allow a person to finally become responsible for the life they have chosen. The final lesson is perhaps the hardest one to accept. Never sacrifice yourself completely to save someone who would not do the same for you. There is a difference between loyalty and self-destruction, between compassion and dependence, between helping someone and allowing their problems to consume your life. You may have a strong sense of responsibility toward the people you care about, but responsibility has limits. The moment helping another person requires you to destroy your own peace, reputation, resources, future, or stability, you must stop and ask whether your loyalty has become a form of self-betrayal. Many people confuse being needed with being valued. They believe that if someone depends heavily on them, the relationship must be meaningful. But dependence is not the same as loyalty. Someone can need your money, your connections, your protection, your attention, or your emotional strength without genuinely caring about what happens to you. This distinction becomes clear when you are the one in trouble. Imagine that you have spent years helping someone. You answered their calls, defended them, gave them opportunities, listened to their problems, and stood beside them when others walked away. Then one day you need support yourself. You ask for something reasonable, and suddenly they become unavailable. They have excuses. They are too busy. They cannot help. They disappear. That moment can reveal more about a relationship than years of promises. Do not ignore it. Reciprocity does not mean keeping a mathematical score of every favor. Genuine relationships are not transactions where every act of kindness must be immediately repaid. There will be times when you give more, and there will be times when the other person gives more. But over time, there should be some evidence that your loyalty matters to them. If you are always sacrificing and they are always receiving, the relationship is not balanced. An imbalance becomes dangerous when the person expects you to sacrifice even more. They may ask you to risk your reputation for them. They may expect you to lie on their behalf. They may demand financial help that threatens your own stability. They may expect you to abandon your goals to solve problems they created. They may use guilt to convince you that refusing them means you do not care. This is where you must become ruthless about responsibility. You can care about someone without taking responsibility for every consequence of their choices. You can love someone without allowing them to destroy your peace. You can forgive someone without continuing to rescue them. You can support someone without sacrificing your entire future. The strongest people understand that boundaries are not evidence of selfishness. Boundaries are evidence that you understand the value of your own life. Your future deserves protection too. Every resource you give away has an opportunity cost. Every hour spent solving someone else's repeated crisis is an hour removed from your own development. Every unnecessary conflict you absorb drains attention that could have been invested in building your future. Every financial sacrifice made for someone irresponsible can create instability in your own life. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming strategic. Before you rescue someone, ask yourself a simple question. If I give this person what they are asking for, will it genuinely help them become stronger, or will it simply make their dependence